So this question is asking what a valid variable name is. Well, I can say the variable name num, set it equal to 5, and it runs fine. I could print out num, and it will print out the value 5, right? Great, no problems. What is that's because this num is a valid variable name. When I use an invalid variable name, then we're going to have issues when I hit run. Error. Bad input on line number 1. And why? Because a variable can only start with underscore and letters. Okay? Cannot start with numbers. So we can't have like 3 underscore num as a variable name. And I will drop that in here, run it. Bad input, right? But I could have underscore num. That's fine. Prints out the 5, right? I could have num3. I could have a number at the end of it, and that works fine. Okay. Variable name cannot start with a symbol or a number. Right? It has to start with an underscore or a letter. And one other thing to keep in mind as you're programming and as you're creating variables, that gives you the power to create the variable's name, right? And very often you'll be like, well, let's call it X, let's call it Y, let's call it Z. Right? That's really bad. Okay, these programs that we're writing right now, they're 1 line, they're 2 lines long, but eventually you're going to get to the point where your code is going to be, or your program is going to be 1,000 lines long. You think that's not true, right? You think that's an impossibility, but we are going to get there at the end, okay? And when you do have something like that, and you have variable names such as X, Y, and Z, you're not going to be able to understand what each variable contains as you're trying to read through your program, debugging the instruction series that you wrote down earlier, right? And a common saying is, when you come and sit down at your code that you wrote 2 weeks ago, it's like looking at new code that you have no understanding of, right? So what we want to do is we want to make it as easy as possible to read your code. And so you want to make your variable names descriptive. You want to describe what they contain, right? So if this, for instance, describes the Y position of a sprite, we can call it YPOS. XPOS. If this is YPOS, we can call it YPOS. If we have another one that records the color, we could call it sprite underscore color, right? Equals red. Right? So you want to be as descriptive as possible when you're naming your variables, so that you can increase the readability, so that you can allow somebody who's helping you to be less confused and to ask less questions, right? If you're coming up to me and you're asking me for help, which you will, because programming is not easy, I'm going to be asking you, what does X mean? What's inside of Y? What's inside of Z? And as I ask you, I'm going to be boiling with anger because you have watched this video. And I have told you that variable names should be descriptive, and I shouldn't have been wasting my time asking you those questions. Okay, so make your life easier, make my life easier, and give me a good reputation. Because if you get to the college level and you're giving your professor X and Y as your variable names, he's going to be angry, not at you, but at me for not preparing you to be effective programmers, right? But yeah, that's it.